comes from the suburbs. Lit the sky with too much reverb. We're getting the band back together.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Thursday night. This is the Producer's Perspective Live. It is the 147th week of our live streams here, or it just feels that way. Hello, Helene. Welcome back. Welcome back to all of you. We're seeing so many familiar faces. It's starting to feel like a Cheers bar. Like this is a place where everyone knows your name. Hi, Mary Alice. Hi, everybody. I love when the emojis in there. Keep them coming. I am still, I don't know about you, but I am still on a high from Jen Colella last night. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good about that. If you missed Jen Colella, make sure you watch the replay because she will keep you floating on air throughout this thing. Mary will throw up the link on where you can watch all of the replays. But Jen Colella last night, fan-effing-tastic. So go watch the replay. Tonight, Mr. Joe Iconis, Mr. Be More Chill himself, Mr. I've had my music streamed a billion times. Mr. Joe Iconis will be here in just a few moments. If you like Broadway Bounty Hunter as well, which I caught off Broadway, Love and Hate Nation, I mean, this guy is killing it. If you like Joe Iconis, hit that like button right now. I want to see some likes go up. I want to see some hearts. I want to see some comments. Let me see them. You know why? Joe will just, he'll like us more if we do that. There's some. Look at it. Really, we do that because we want more people to watch. Why do we want more people to watch? Because the more people that watch, the more people that may give to the Actors Fund. And that's why we're here to raise money for the Actors Fund. And we're starting to, oh, look, the hearts are coming in now. I love it. We are really starting to raise some good cash here, which is good. It's going to go to some very good use, and a lot of people could use it. So thank you for that. Joe, we'll take some questions. So if you got some, and I think this was Drew's idea. Drew, are you there tonight? There he is, cold, rainy Baltimore Drew. You know what he does? He puts questions in all caps before he asks his question. My eye goes right to it. And as I'm like, I don't know if you've seen this, I'm trying to figure out how to keep talking and engaging with the guest and also pick a question. So if you see me doing that, I'm not watching like Wimbledon on my other monitor over here, or old Wimbledon because there is the Wimbledon now, but I'm trying to figure out questions. And anyway, put question there and I'll go to it. So if you have questions for Joe, go ahead and throw it in there. We announced last night that we were invited to take part of a very special Facebook program where they allowed the users to purchase stars that you could throw at us and give money to the Actors Fund. So we announced that last night because Facebook invited us to be a part of this very special pilot program. And then today they told us it was just for video gamers. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. Video gamer, I am not. I was when I was about 12, but not anymore. Apparently, Broadway folk are just not as important as video gamers. Maybe we'll stream on Pinterest tomorrow night instead of Facebook. I also need your help on something else. I need your help a lot these days. The Actors Fund and sharing this sucker. And also, I posted a blog today. Everyone's talking about how do we get Broadway back up and running. And we're working on how to do that, of course. And I'm on a whole bunch of committees with a bunch of very fancy Broadway people coming up with ideas on how to do that. But what I'm also worried about, what we're all worried about, is how do we make our theater goers comfortable to come back? It's one thing to light our lights and raise the curtain, but how do we make people feel more comfortable about coming? What's it going to take? Is it going to take a vaccination? Is it going to take government leaders telling us it's okay? Is it going to take us taking temperatures at the entrance? Who knows? I want to know. If you have ideas on what may make theater goers more comfortable, go to the blog, throw it in the comments. I'm literally going to print out all these comments or email them all to Broadway leadership. So they want to see it. So check the link in the comments, and I will forward it on. And your input really matters. You guys are theater goers, right? So go check that out. Okay, enough of that nonsense. Let's get to the real stuff. Please welcome to the live stream, Mr. Joe Iconis. Welcome, Joe.
Hey.
There he is.
There I am.
How are you? You look very casual. Man. You look very
casual?
Very comfortable, casual, dark lounge.
Nice. This is my bedroom where I'm at right now. Yeah, like setting the mood. Uh, yeah. It's funny because I feel very comfortable like in suits. Like I feel super comfortable like fairly dressed up. And whenever I have to be in a situation where I'm dressed like casually, I don't know what the hell to do. And so for any like any like Zoom or like streaming thing during this quarantine, it's been a nightmare for me because I'm like, what do normal people wear at home? Do they wear sweaters? I guess I'll wear a sweater. So I don't know what I'm doing.
You should have worn a suit.
I should have, but then I was like, this is gonna be weird. I've actually done it a couple times, and I feel like people look at it and they're like, "Who's this asshole wearing a suit on his couch?" So, you know, I'm trying. I'm negotiating casual wear.
Now I know why one of your first shows was called the Black Suits, or why you named that band that. Is
Yeah,
that true?
yeah, man. I've just always like been into suits and into formal menswear.
Well, look, one of the viewers already think you look very cool where
Oh,
you are.
thanks.
So I love it. I
Thanks.
love it.
Yeah.
So,
This
tell us-
painting behind me is velvet. So that makes it really nice.
very fancy.
Yeah.
Very fancy. Where did you get it?
I got that at a flea market, Hell's Kitchen flea market.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's where you are right now? Are you in Hell's Kitchen? Are you in the heart of the city still?
Hell's Kitchen, heart of the city. I was on Long Island for the very top of the quarantine, and then I came back to my home, which is in Hell's Kitchen. And my family was a little bit like, "Why are you going back to the city, which is the epicenter of this entire thing?" But it just felt correct, and my wife is here, so
No.
her fault. Yeah.
Her fault. Have you walked around the Broadway theater district at all in the midst of this on an excursion? No.
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't. I mean, I would and I will. I've really been in the apartment. I haven't ventured out a whole bunch. It's hard. It's like there's something that's it's weird to see the city as empty as it is, and so yeah, it's been hard for me to like venture into the center of things, but I will. From my window, I can see the sign of the Milford Plaza, which is no longer called the Milford Plaza, but the unilluminated sign of the Milford Plaza gives me hope every day. When I literally look at it every day, I'm like, okay, she's still there.
I just fell in love with you just a little bit more for you just saying the Milford Plaza. I mean, it's just like my man crush on you just grows. That was the first hotel I stayed at when I came to see Phantom of the Opera back in like 1989 or something.
Oh, nice. Did you go to Mama Leone's?
I wanted to. I so wanted to, but like I couldn't get in. There was a line at the door, and I was like, "That's the restaurant from the Billy Joel song."
Yeah.
It's not. It really wasn't. Have you been working through this period? Are you inspired to write, or are you not inspired to write? What's the creative process like for you?
I'm in a weird spot where this chunk of time, I had sort of blocked out anyway in my life, because I've sort of come off of like 2+ years of like back to back work, like nonstop work. And so I had like blocked off this time to work on some very specific projects, just as writing time. And so I have these deadlines that kind of remain, and so I've sort of been like, okay, well, it's the world is very different than I thought it was going to be when I first blocked off this time, but I blocked off the time, so I'll just use it and write. And so it's been a strange thing of like me, really trying to force myself to write and trying to be productive, but it's hard, and I've been doing okay. Like I'm trying to like sort of embrace the fact that there's sort of no more rules, and that it's there's a lot of things that it's like we don't know what's going to happen, and so I'm trying to let that sort of depressurize my writing situation, but it's challenging.
Any tips out there that you've used to keep yourself going and up, and how you actually battle through it?
Yeah, something that has been really helpful to me is what the quarantine situation has done for me. It's given me a little bit more time to actually like take in art, which is just to say, like, obviously I'm not like going to see shows, because that's not possible. And also, like, how weird if I was going to do that right now. But you know, I'm watching movies that I've always wanted to see. I'm listening to albums that I've never gotten around to really like getting into, and just like consuming art has really inspired me, and it's really helped me. And not in like a nuts and bolts way. It's not like I'm, you know, watching, you know, like a, you know, Wim Wenders movie from 1984. And I'm like, oh great, now I'm going to steal that for my show. But it's just like it's inspiring me in a way that feels like, oh right, this is how I used to consume art back when I wasn't, you know, fully programmed at every second of the day.
So what's a movie or an album that you would not have seen or listened to if it wasn't for the pandemic that you have, that you recommend other people see or listen to during this time?
I watched I watched
Tiger King. You watched Tiger King.
It's the I did not watch Tiger. Yes, I did watch that. I have like a Tiger King thing. So like Tiger King, I think it's great. It's like the people who made it are very talented. It's like really awesome, but it just made me like so unbelievably sad, like the actual human beings that thing was about. And then as soon as like everybody gets on board with one thing, it's just in me to be like, no, 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 no. And so everyone was so like excited about Tiger King, and I was like, absolutely not. Bums me out. I don't like how they treat the animals. And the only like character that I really was like, okay, I get why this person is like is kind of appealing in Tiger King was the woman who I guess killed her husband. And then it pissed me off that everyone was attacking her for killing her husband, because it seemed like if she did kill her husband, like maybe like he wasn't the great. I don't even know. I'm talking about it. I'm talking about stupid Tiger King. I didn't want to talk about Tiger King. It's all your fault. You're part of the problem right now.
I am part of the problem, because I was listening too. My wife was like, "You got to watch this." I was like, "That's the most ridiculous thing on the planet." I'm not watching it. Next thing you know, I'm like, Carol Baskin.
No, I know Carol Baskin. Yeah.
And Jeff Lowe. My God.
It's riveting. It's riveting. It just bumps me out. But you know what I watched? I watched Near Dark, which is Catherine Bigelow's I think it was her first movie that she made in '87, and it's like a sort of westerny take on vampires. And so it's a lot of like brooding vampires. There's a great Bill Paxton performance, and so that was one that I would not have watched had there not been like a free 90 minutes in my life. And it was really inspiring. And I liked the way that it used genre without feeling like cartoony or goofy, you know. And it gave some weight and some complexity to vampire characters. So that was a great watch.
So you had a couple shows. I mean, did you have two companies of Be More Chill that were abbreviated, like were cut short by this fucking thing?
Yeah.
God damn it. Chicago and London, right?
Chicago and London, yeah. They've been paused. I mean, in London, we were like in the meat of the run. Like we opened, it was really well received. People were like digging it. There was nothing but positivity surrounding the London run of the show. And so it was so strange that it just sort of, you know, paused in this way. And then Chicago, we were gearing up to be in rehearsals last month, and then we were going to open. I mean, it was like right around now where we would have opened in Chicago. And so that's just been, as of now, postponed until later in the summer, fall. But, you know, like everyone, we're just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen.
As a creator of these works, you know, there's been lots of talks about how we come back and what do we do with audiences. If you had a choice of like an audience coming back a month or two early, but they had to be 4 or 5 empty seats in between them, would you want that, or would you just want to wait the month and let everyone sit side by side and pack the house?
I don't even know. You know, I think that it's, you know, the safety thing is the thing that you know takes precedence over anything to me. And so if there was a world where someone was like, it is absolutely safe to have people in a room, they just have to sit far apart, then I think my impulse would be like, cool, let them sit far apart and let's all like revel in the weirdness of this moment, and then we'll sit close together and we'll appreciate that even more. You know, I like whatever it is, being transparent about it. You know, I like being in a theater anyway, and having everyone kind of be on the same page, you know. And so I think that whatever we got to do. I'm for whatever gets shows happening as soon as soon and safely as humanly possible. So yeah, I would certainly, if someone told me that it was safe for myself and others to go sit in a theater a few people apart, I'd be like, great, awesome, love it.
Yeah, I guess there's some people, it'd be like when you take an airplane ride and like no one's sitting next to you, you're like, yes, raise that armrest and hang out, throw a bag there. I mean, some people actually might find it more comfortable.
Well, if we're going to be real about it, people are always bitching about theater seats, and everyone's always complaining about how you're so cramped and everything. And so it's like, as long as it's safe, I'd feel like there's like thousands of people and be like, finally, seats on either side.
Will you write about this period of time, or will it affect any of your show? I was trying to think about this today. Like, if you're, and I don't know this history, so this is just total postulation, but plays that were written in the year after World War II ended, right? Or a couple years after, if they were set in the present day, they had to be set, like, they had to deal with just what happened somehow. Everyone was coming home from a war, deal with something. So do you think if you're writing something in present day, you have to address this issue, or will we pretend it never happened?
I think that, I think that writers' responses in general will be totally different depending on the type of writers they are to this. I think for me, it kind of depends on the world of the show. I feel like it's one of those things that it won't, for me, I won't be able to help being affected by this experience, whether I'm setting out to write a show that feels like it is aware that this pandemic happened or not. It's going to creep its way into my writing. I'm working on a show right now that's this musical about Hunter S. Thompson. That's the thing that I'm kind of working on in the last few weeks. And and that show is like it bounces all over in time. It's in 2005, and then it's in 1965, and then it's in the 70s, the 80s. It's all over the place. But with that, it's like as I write, I feel like with the thing that I'm tapping into as far as the COVID situation goes, is I'm tapping into this sense of like something is hovering over America and everyone is experiencing it, and no one quite knows what it is, but it's something that it's a national strangeness that's in the air. And that's something that was like in the show before, but it's just sort of naturally coming out now. And I can, and I'm not even thinking about it as I'm writing it, but then I'll write something like, oh, that's like, so like I'm writing about what's going on outside right now without actually literally writing about it. So I think that'll be how I'll do it going forward. I can't see myself writing like a quarantine musical, but who knows?
So talk to us. You're writing this Hunter Thompson musical now. Tell me what, like, you'll wake up tomorrow, and what does Joe Iconis, composer, lyricist, are you writing the book for this as well?
Co-writing the book, yeah.
So what does your tomorrow, like, how do you start tomorrow, wherever you are in it? What do you do first, especially when you're tackling all three elements?
I mean, for this particular writing job on the show, I'm kind of going through the last version that we had of it and looking at every piece of writing in the entire show. And so it's a sort of really specific, kind of writing process. But for this, I've been when I'm in the script, I'm just going in order, and so I'm like starting at the top and just working my way through. And then on top of that, I'm just reading a ton. Like, this is a show because it's about Hunter S. Thompson and because it's about America sort of through the decades. There's just so much research that is necessary with every line. And so it's the kind of thing where, like, I'll write some line about Richard Nixon, and then I'll have to be like, okay, wouldn't Nixon have said that in 1972? Let me try to find that. So it's a lot of like cross-referencing as I'm going. And because of that, it's just a challenging writing process. It's not sort of like a fun and fancy-free, just like, oh, letting the muse take me and going wherever. It's like, it feels like work. Like, it feels like I feel like I'm a librarian at every moment. And it's been I've been in it for weeks now. And what's wild about this time is that, I normally my life is like I said, I've you know got meetings and things and shows and rehearsals, whatever, and so I don't have any of that. So I've just been like in front of the computer for weeks now. And so sort of like figuring out the structure of a day and the structure of my writing day has been really challenging. You know, I'm also a writer who I love to write in public. Like I love to write in coffee shops or bars or restaurants or wherever. And to not have that, I've been really feeling that. Like it's been like I'll get to a point where I just feel totally swamped. And I'll think like, oh, this is where I would have gone to you know the Jolly Goat coffee bar right now, and I can't do that. So I'll just go to this side of the couch. You know, it's a lot of that.
You just have your wife come over, like, sit down and ignore me and drink coffee and, you know, try to pretend you're at the.
Oh my God. Imagine if it comes to that. How creepy would that be? If I was like, hey, Lauren, put on this costume. Wife. Yeah. Role playing to get me to write my musical about Hunter S. Thompson.
In relation to that, Wayne Stafford asks, are there any rituals you have to do when you write? Very specifically worded question. Like, do you have to have a bottle of seltzer water, or do you have to have a number 2 pencil, like, or are you just more freeform?
I'm more freeform. I'm a really sloppy writer, and even when I write songs, I think the thing that sort of defines my process is this kind of like whirlwindness. You know, when I'm in it and when I'm loving it, I'm like, I'll write at the computer and then I'll get up and I'll write at a notebook. I'll write like pacing around my room, and then I'll come and be like really still for a while. And so I'm sort of all over the place. And I'm not one of those people who has ever had like a writing schedule. You know, I'm not a person who's like, I write every day from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's just all over the place for me, you know, and that I think is something it's both helpful and challenging. You know, it's like at times like this, I'm like, oh man, I wish that I was one of those people who, you know, every single day you write from this time to this time, because I'd have some parameters or something. And now it just feels like, oh, you just, you know, sit there and you just got to do it, you know. It's like a writing prison. But I wish something that I do like is I like a lot of noise when I'm writing, and so which is one of the things I love about writing in public, because there's just this sort of like, you know, pleasant distractions kind of on the periphery. The problem, of course, is if the distractions become like actually distracting, and so it's a fine line. You know, and so I'm listening to a lot of music, but it has to be music that I'm either really familiar with or like wordless music, because anything that's too like word heavy, my mind will immediately go there. Like Fiona Apple, who I love a lot, put out this new album. It's a really amazing album, but I haven't been able to listen to it a whole bunch because every time I put it on as I'm working, I'm like, I'll be, you know, writing about Hunter S. Thompson, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Fiona's wordplay there is so good. How fascinating! I'm going to Google what that lyric actually is, and then I'm going to Google why she was inspired to write that lyric. And then it's just, then I'm gone, you know?
It's funny. Joanne Dean, this is taking a comment out of my mouth. Congratulations on the cast recording release for Broadway Bounty Hunter, which I saw that show last year and I had a blast. And I can't wait to listen to this thing, because that Annie Golden belted the fucking shit out of your stuff. Like, I've always been a fan of hers. I mean, who isn't? But I had never heard her sing like that. And frankly, I hired her for a reading like right after that because she was so amazing. But it's so much fun. Joanne Dean, she says, share that experience recording and plans going forward. Tell us what's next for Broadway Bounty Hunter. What's next for the cast recording? How was it to do? Tell us.
Yeah. I mean, it was an absolute dream to get to record this album. You know, listen, like we've worked on Bounty Hunter for years and years and years. Myself and my collaborators, Jason Sweet Williams and Lance Rubin, and it was a show that we wrote for Annie Golden, and it was, you know, a dream to get to do it off Broadway this past summer. It did not run for as long as we all hoped that it would run for, but we knew that we were taking a gamble doing this, like, you know, huge ass commercial musical off Broadway. That, you know, wasn't based on like a movie or didn't have, you know, the Hugh Jackman in it or anything. And so we were so proud of the show. And when we closed, we didn't know if we were gonna get the opportunity to preserve it. We didn't know if it would have another life. And then thanks to our amazing producers, Jennifer Ashley Tepper and Allison Bressi, and Ghostlight Records, they were able to make this album happen. And so everyone who worked on the show cares so much about it. And it's like not just the creative team, like the whole cast, Annie, her leading man, Alan H. Green, Brad Oscar, our villain, like Badia Farah, all these amazing people, Christina Seju, I could just name all of them. It's just the greatest, most badass cast in the whole world. And our band led by Jeff Coe, our band cared so much, and so it really felt like a treat for everyone to get to record this stuff. And the music is inspired by like 1970s soul and funk music, Curtis Mayfield I mean, so many people. And so we've always thought like, oh, this show would make a pretty like boppin' album. And I think it does. It actually like it reminds me of an album like of like a rock musical from the 70s. And as we were making it, that was sort of the way that we thought about it. The show itself is like, it's definitely a musical. It's like not one of those shows where you can like totally take the songs out of context and then do them wherever. I mean, you can, but it's like you can't like fake them being from a musical. And so, something like the Be More Chill album, has like a ton of dialogue and really has these sort of large musical sequences. With Bounty Hunter, we were like, let's have this thing be like under an hour. Let's make this like like the Dreamgirls cast album where it's like the hits, the highlights, boom, 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 just like knock them all out. And that's what the album feels like. And the performances are just incredible. I feel so weird talking about it because I like had a hand in it, but I really dig it, and I'm excited for people to listen to it. And we're doing this YouTube listening party tomorrow. So if you go to the Ghostlight Records YouTube page, yeah, look at it right there.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow night, yeah, Friday.
Friday, 8
p.m.
ready with graphic.
Oh, so good, Mary. Come on. Yeah, go there, and myself and the cast and creators, and we'll all be hanging out, and you can chat with us, and we'll all listen to it together and dance.
Awesome. And I would imagine, have you already started to get inquiries on doing that show in licensing and regional and all over the world?
Yeah. Yeah, a bit. I think it's the show itself is I think some people like freaks them out a little bit because the sort of hook of the show is that Annie Golden, the amazing actor, singer, rock and roller Annie Golden, plays this musical theater actress of a certain age who's down in her luck, and the name of the musical theater actress in the show happens to be Annie Golden. And so the idea behind the show is that any actress who plays that role, she has to use her own name, and she's playing a fictionalized version of herself. And so the kind of trick of the show is that there's actually far fewer references to the literal Annie Golden in the show than you think. It's like you go to it and you think like, oh, I've seen this musical that's like literally about the life of Annie Golden, but it's really not. It's kind of like a magic trick. And so we're so excited to see other productions of this show that have actors using their own names in the center, because that's what it is. It's like a celebration of people who feel marginalized. It's a celebration of people who feel like society has kind of placed them in a box that they want to be out of. And so it feels like, what a great way to celebrate an actor who might have, only ever or is typically cast as like the best friend or like the kooky neighbor, to have this actor not only be the lead of the musical and have this, actor who's a woman of a certain age allowed to like be the center of her own story and be, butt kicking and sexy and cool and do all this stuff, but also like have her like use her own name in the musical. That's so we're excited to see different peeps do it all over the place.
And another question just came in, just about a little bit about your writing process. Mm-hmm. Tracy Jordan, when you're writing a show where you're writing the book and the music, what comes first? And if you're working on something else right now, you're working on anything else where this is the case, if you talk about that specifically, that I'd love to know myself.
Yeah. So for me, I've kind of done all the different iterations. I've done shows where I've just written the book. I've done shows where I've done book music lyrics. I've done shows where I've done just music lyrics, not the book. And for me, no matter what I'm doing, the thing that I start with is the outline. Like even if I'm just writing the score, I need to know the characters like backwards and forwards. I need to know the arc. I need to know how the characters sort of play out over the course of the show. I'm not someone who can just kind of like go in and like write songs that can sort of be placed anywhere. I'm like a pretty specific writer, and so I like to have so much information before I actually put pen to paper, and I talk endlessly about the thing before I actually start writing, so that when I actually do start writing, I have all of this information and I feel like I know these people. And then it's like, it's so exciting when you discover things as you're writing it's so exciting then to be like, oh wow, I didn't know this about this character who I thought I knew
Yeah.
at the beginning of this process, you know. But it's different for everything. The other show that I'm working on right now is a show called Punk Rock Girl, which is the first thing I've done that uses pre-existing songs and a narrative. And so for Punk Rock Girl, I'm writing the book, and then I'm co-arranging the music with Rob Rokicki, the great writer who wrote Lightning Thief. And for that's been something that it's like a process that am so unfamiliar with, the sort of writing of a jukebox musical, which is what it is. And it's like a pretty subversive jukebox musical that's for young people, but it's a jukebox musical nonetheless. And so it's sort of taking like pre-existing songs and having to create book around them is it's just such a wild thing, you know, that I'm having fun with, because the story was one that it was like a gig that I had to pitch, and so I came up with the whole story, and I came up with how some of the songs fit in at the top, and so I really knew it going in. But it's been like a really interesting process to be like, okay, this is this song that, you know, Gwen Stefani wrote, and I can't really change it all that much, and so we gotta like make it work in the context
I
of
just
the
love
thing.
that you're doing that, because it just seems like something that a composer, lyricist would not want to do. So what made you go like, you know what, I'm going to take off that very strong, unique voice that I have. I'm not going to be able to take that tool out of the toolbox, and I'm going to dedicate what could be years of your life to this. So why were you so attracted to not write music for a show?
Mm-hmm. You know, I think that it's this thing that in the building that I live in New York City, they I have to put like money in an envelope and give it to this guy who like owns the building, and if I don't do that, he kicks me out. And so because of that, I was like, I should take this gig that pays me some money. I'm totally kidding, sort of about this. No, but like truly.
This is a great mob story right now. Joe Iconis is indebted to the mob, leads the Broadway briefing tomorrow.
Yeah, no, for sure. But no, I did it for that very reason, because even in shows that I've written the book, I've never written the book to anything that I didn't also write the score for. And I think that people know me as a composer, lyricist first. And so I thought it was a cool challenge to do something where I absolutely could not lean back on my songwriting abilities, you know, and I really love writing book to musicals. And as you know, it's tricky because, you know, as whenever people see that someone has written the book, music, and lyrics of something, they're like the dander immediately goes up, and people are immediately like, "Oh, you think you can do all three, huh? You know, do you think you're LinManuel?" Like that's such a thing that's in us. And so I've always been like, no, I really love writing book. Like book is, I'm very passionate about it. And so it was a cool way to, you know, it is a cool way to sort of hone that skill and do something that is just that, you know, I can't write lyrics to this. I can't really change the music. And also the music arranging component is something that I'm really excited by and fascinated by, and what you can do by changing the character of a song, what you can do by sort of rearranging bits of a song. It's stuff that I do in my own writing all the time, but it seemed like a really cool thing to attempt doing it with other music. And the other music that I'm working with is the show is all songs that were popularized by female rock and rollers. And so there's a lot of music that's, you know, punk music and sort of Riot Girl stuff, like Bikini Kill and Slater Kinney, like songs that I really, really love. And it's been nice to sort of put those songs in a theatrical context, while also letting them retain their punkiness. So I'm stoked about that show. We're doing a production of it actually in October at the Argyle Theater on Long Island, and tickets are like on sale now. So if you want to grab some tickets,
Go
check it out.
get those tickets. You know what? Your virtual listening party tomorrow night takes place at the same time as our live stream, but I'm going to just give everyone permission to go to the virtual listening party, provided they make a donation to the Actors Fund. So go check out the listening party tomorrow. I'm sure it's going to be a big hoot, a heck of a lot of fun. I love that you're doing that and just doing the book. It's just such another example of what I love about you. You're challenging yourself. It'll sharpen your skills like on the other side of it, just because you so like are. I mean, it's just great, and it's something I should have expected you to do. Like you're that type of artist, and I'm so glad to know you, and I'm so thankful you're here tonight.
Yeah, man. No, thanks for having me.
Of course. Our pleasure. Say goodbye to Joe Iconis, everyone. Give him a big wave, and thanks for being here. Stay safe out there.
Thanks, my friend. Be good.
Bye. Joe Iconis, everybody. Mr. Joe, a billion streams Iconis. He loves when I say that. I hope you enjoyed that as much as possible. Throw some stars, virtual or otherwise. I saw Sam threw some stars in there. If we can't do it officially, Mark Zuckerberg, we're going to throw matches some way. Just watch it. I'm going to figure out a way to hack this. I'm going to hack this thing. So thank Joe for being here tonight. By throwing the Actors Fund some love, go ahead and hit that little button on the tip jar. Tomorrow night, another very, very inspirational artist, and one that I worked with on the Deaf West production of Spring Awakening. Ali Stroker will be here tomorrow night with a very special guest. Joe Benincasa, the head of the Actors Fund, will be here talking a little bit about what the Actors Fund does and where all that money you're donating right now, non-subliminal message. I'm just telling you to do it, where it's going to go. So Joe Benincasa will be here tomorrow night, and then Ali Stroker will be here as our primary guest. And now, get this, something to make you smile. Here's a good one. I mean, speaking of the Actors Fund, Brian Stokes Mitchell, who is, first of all, he tested positive. He got the old corona. He got it, and we're thrilled that he's doing much, much better. So much better that he led the impossible dream out of his window. He sang it, they shot it, and now you can see it. And it'll put a smile on your face. First of all, listening to Brian Stokes Mitchell sing Row, Row, Row Your Boat would make you smile. I listened to that song 27 times today, sung by the Wiggles. They don't make you smile. Brian Stokes Mitchell, I'd hear Row, Row, Row Your Boat. That would make me smile. Here he's singing The Damn Impossible Dream, which he did on Broadway. It's incredible. Go listen to it. Go watch that. Be inspired. Let it make you smile. And then come back tomorrow night. Or if you're going to go to Joe's party, make sure you catch us on replay, because it's Ali Stroker tomorrow night. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Getting the band